All right, let's talk about the election latest. So these are the numbers at this hour. It is trending towards a president-elect Joe Biden. Probably by later this afternoon, the networks will likely come out and call the election for Biden as he goes past 270. By later this afternoon, the votes in Pennsylvania will be done, and we should see a final election results in Pennsylvania. So right now, in Pennsylvania, which was, remember, trending, it was leaning Trump because he was up. Look at it now. Pennsylvania now is up for Vice President Biden with 98% of the expected vote in right now. So we still have a little bit to go. And actually, that little bit is a lot. It's like a couple 100,000 votes in Philadelphia County specifically. So there's a lot, of course, and the judges have dismissed President Trump's lawsuits, saying there's no facts involved in these, so those are dismissed. So voting continues in Allegheny County and Philadelphia County at this hour. But these are the numbers in Philadelphia as they stand right now. You can just see how stinking close this is. And of course, President Trump has every right to use the court system, his constitutional rights, to fight any potential voter irregularities if he finds them, if there's evidence of that. Great. Please share that with the judge. If someone tampered with an election in a particular precinct, that person should be thrown in jail if there's evidence of that, right? That's why we have a court system, a legal system. So far, there is zero evidence of that. But that didn't stop President Trump last night from coming out at an infuriating press conference last night. I don't often get mad. Do I look like a guy that gets mad? Like I'm a pretty even-keeled guy, right? Like, you know how there's you have people in your life who are super moody. Like, oh my gosh, don't go near Angela this week. You know, she's just been moody. You know, John, no, don't talk to him on a Friday afternoon. He's just a beast to deal with. Clayton is usually kind of like this. I just don't, you know. But last night, watching this press conference, like my head exploded. See if your head explodes too.
Provide the American people with an update on our efforts to protect the integrity of our very important 2020 election. If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
Okay, that's how you kick off a press conference, right? Like the last throes of a desperate, sad man. Sad, pathetic. If you count the legal votes, I've won. Okay, here are the legal votes right now. How do you figure that?
If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly. But a lot of votes came in late.
A lot of votes came in late. By the way, let's just talk about Pennsylvania for a second. You narcissist. Pennsylvania, with a Republican legislature, would not allow them in Pennsylvania to start counting the mail-in or absentee ballots until after all of the walk-in votes had been counted. Hey, they could have got the job done on the same day. You wouldn't let them. The illegal votes. I spoke to a Marine last night who serves overseas, and he said, and he's from Philadelphia. He mailed in his ballot 5 weeks ago, and he said, so what, I'm a fraud? I'm a Marine serving overseas. I mailed my ballot in 4 or 5 weeks ago. You're not going to count it because you think I'm a fraud? That's exactly what they were trying to stop.
I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech.
So historic election interference by big money, big tech. Let's talk about that for a second. If you look at the state of play right now and you look at Republicans who have won massive, they've won in the House, okay? Republicans have picked up seats in Nancy Pelosi's House of Representatives. No legislature in all of the country flipped. State legislature went towards Democrats. None of them were flipped. Democrats couldn't pull it off. And in the Senate, we still don't know, but it looks like the Senate will remain red when those votes are done. So if you're going to perpetrate if big money, big tech is going to somehow try to throw an election in big media, they want to still have Mitch McConnell running the Senate? Does that make any sense at all? How would you manage to pull that off fraudulently? Think about that, right? If someone votes on a party line, most people vote party line, right? They submit their ballot and they vote straight down red, they just I'm voting for Trump, then I'm going to vote for McConnell, right on down the line. How would you manage to pull off a fraud that somehow just switched the vote for President Trump but kept the other votes on the ballot? Makes no sense at all. There's zero evidence of it. It was funny, though, to watch him go on and on about this. And Shepard Smith, my old colleague at Fox, I've always liked Shepard. I mean, he just doesn't pull any punches. An excellent news anchor, one of the finest breaking news anchors anywhere in the world. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So he was doing his thing. He's now on CNBC. He's got a new show over there. And here he was responding and literally cut into programming and just was like, we're done.
Now tens of millions of unsolicited ballots without any verification measures whatsoever.
Well, we're interrupting this because what the President of the United States is saying, in large part, is absolutely untrue. He began, and we're not going to allow it to keep going because it's not true. He began with there were legal votes, and if they only count the legal votes, I easily win. If they count the illegal votes, they're trying to steal the election. There is not a scintilla of evidence that this is true. None. There's only words here. No truth. He said the pollsters knowingly got the polls wrong to create voter suppression. There is no evidence of any kind that this has happened, and he's provided none. He said that there is actually a red wave in this election. That is categorically false. He said there was election interference. There is no evidence to support that, and the president has offered none. He said the polls were fake. In some cases, the polls were wrong. It's been widely discussed that maybe the idea of polling needs to be reinvented.
So Shepard Smith, a number of networks just basically stopped their coverage. Fox News continued it, CNN continued it, but other networks cut away, MSNBC, CNBC, and just said, we're done. Watching the last throes of a giant crying baby last night, it was pretty remarkable. Any way you slice it, it doesn't make sense, and there's no evidence of it. And if you do have evidence, you bring it forward, and it gets investigated. They have cameras in all of these ballot counting places that are of big concern, like in Philadelphia. Cameras overhead. If we saw Janice doing something fishy to a ballot, we know who Janice is. She could be arrested. There's a camera right there. Janice, don't mess with those ballots if you're thinking about doing something shady. Zero evidence of it so far. So Biden inches closer at this hour, the very latest, as we're watching Pennsylvania. These votes, as they will likely come in this afternoon in Pennsylvania, is now trending towards Joe Biden, which is what we expected would happen as these mail-in and absentee ballots were being counted later, because the state legislature there does not allow them to start counting them until the walk-in vote is done. By the way, President Trump said it was a massive victory in Florida. That's how close it was in Florida. He won decisively, but massive. And by the way, they're still not even done counting in Florida yet. So we'll see. Arizona has moved further and further away from President Trump. And of course, Nevada. I don't know what's going on in Nevada. It's been so bizarre to watch them count. They came in yesterday morning, okay, we're only counting 60,000 ballots this afternoon, and then we're just going home for the day. Literally. That's what Nevada did yesterday. Hey, we're going to count a few, and then we've got to go get brunch. So we can't be bothered with this whole... We only work once every 4 years. but man, this extra day of work has really put a crimp in my style. So I got to take some time off. Come on, Nevada. What's wrong with you? Like, you're like Grover. I just need to relax. I'm not going to count some ballots today. You have one job to do. Just get it done. The entire future of our country is waiting on you, Nevada. But really at this hour, it's all about Georgia. So this morning, I didn't really sleep much at all as watching these ballots come in from Georgia. Went from leaning Trump. Trump was winning in Georgia, has now shifted and is now leaning in Biden's category in blue. But it's still, look at that, almost a statistical tie. He is about 1,200 votes up right now. Biden is in Georgia. So if that remains, he will go on to win Georgia. I believe the last Democrat to win Georgia was Clinton, I believe in 92, if I'm not mistaken off the top of my head. So, the state has voted blue in the past. Jimmy Carter, of course, from Georgia. It voted for Bill Clinton. So it's not an always red state. And Pennsylvania. So the two that we're watching this afternoon are Georgia and Pennsylvania. As soon as either of these are called, it's over and done. And this goes from 264 to well over the 270 that's needed to to win, in which case you will have a Joe Biden, a President-elect Joe Biden, probably by the end of this evening. I'm talking to a couple of my Washington sources overnight, saying that this will likely be done by tonight. And it will be interesting to see what President Trump does next. Once it's official and these networks decide to call it, what will he do? And they can try and go through the court battles and do what they're going to do in these different states. But what these judges have already have dismissed a number of these lawsuits because there's no evidence. When you file a lawsuit, you have to bring forth evidence, and a judge will look at that evidence based on its merits, then take it one step further. Okay, I'm going to let this go on. If there's nothing there and it has no basis in law, it gets dismissed. So we'll see in what states they're able to pull off any kind of a lawsuit that moves into the further down the court system. We'll see.